Listen, Blueface, it's time to face the truth. You thought you was the king, the player, the youth, but she was the one who had the real power, playing you like a fiddle every single hour. You thought you was running the game, but she had a skill. You was just a pawn in a master plan, standing still. She had the move, she had the flair. You was just a sucker caught up in a snare. You call yourself a player, but you got played. You thought you was the king, but you was just a pawn in her parade. She was the one who held the cards, who held the power, and you was just a sucker who didn't see the hour. But now you see the truth. You was just a pawn in a game of youth. You thought you was the pimp person in more power, but she was the one who had the real power, who had the real fun. She played you like a game and you lost your pride. You thought you was the one who was gonna take her for a ride. She was the driver and you was just a passenger, and now you're left with nothing but a memory you remember. You thought love was the game, but it was all a lie. You was just a pawn in a game and you didn't even realize. But now you see the truth. She was the one who was playing you. From the youth, you was dealing with a woman who was wise beyond her years, a master manipulator with a heart full of tears. She played the game with precision and skill, and you was just a pawn who didn't have a will. Now you're left with nothing but the truth. You got played by a woman who was too smooth. You thought you was the king, but you was just a fool. And now you're left to pick up the pieces of a love that was never true. She was the last virgin you ever thought you'd meet, a wolf in sheep's clothing with a heart that's cold and sweet. You thought you was the king, the player, the one in control, but little did you know you was just a pawn in a role. She was playing you like a fiddle, reeling you in with ease, and you thought you was the one who had the upper end, if you please. But the truth is, she was playing games too, just like you. She was navigating too. You thought you was the pimp, but she was the one who had the power, who had the control, who had the fun. You was just a pawn, a piece in her design, a means to an end, a way to get what she wanted in time. You thought you was running the game, but she was running you. And now you're left wondering what happened was true. You see, love wasn't on the table, it was all a game. You was just a player, playing a role, playing a game, but she was the one who was playing to win. And in the end, she walked away with the prize within. You call yourself a player, but you got played. You thought you was the king, but you was just a pawn in her parade. She was the one who held the cards, who held the power, and you was just a sucker who didn't see the hour. You should've known better, you should've seen the signs, but you was too blinded by your own ego, your own crime. You thought you was the one who was in control, but she was the one who was running the show from the very soul. Now you're left wondering what happened to you, why you couldn't see the game that she was running to. But the truth is, you didn't want to see. You was too busy playing to notice the signs, to notice the energy. She was the one who was playing you like a pro, and you was just a pawn in a game, you know. You thought you was the player, but you was just a fool. And now you're left with nothing but the rules. Hurt because he lost a real one. Thought he was playing games, but he got played alone. Dealt with a real woman with a real mind, but he couldn't handle the truth that she's one of a kind. He thought he was the player, but he was just a fool. Dealing with a real one who's got the two. She's got the skill, she's got the flair, but he's just a weak link who's unaware. When you deal with a real person, you end up playing yourself. You can't hide your true colors, it's all about your wealth. She sees right through the game, she's not impressed. You're just a pawn in a world, and you're just a mess. He thought he was running the show, but she was the one who was taking control, you know. He thought he was the king, but she was the queen, and now he's left to pick up the pieces of a love that's been seen. If a million used, I need $1 million person hurt because he lost the win. Thought he was playing games, but he got played alone. the truth that she's one of a kind. He thought he was the player, but she was the thing. Person in more power, with a master plan that was tight. She had the skills, the talent and the flair. He was just a pawn in a game with no chance to share. She played him like a fiddle with precision and skill. He thought he was the one who was running the thrill, but she was the one who held the reins, and he was just a puppet with strings that were string.